Good news, according to the Biden administration, there is no border crisis. Remember Baghdad Bob? Should we call him Baghdad Biden?
لا وجود للعلوج الأمريكان في مدينة بغداد.
There is no any trace, no any existence to the American troops or British troops in Baghdad at all.
أبدا.
At all.
And according to our Homeland Security Secretary, there is no border crisis.
Do you believe that right now there's a crisis at the border?
I think that the answer is no. I think there is a challenge at the border that we are managing, and we have our resources dedicated to managing it.
No crisis. Your eyes deceive.
What?
What are you doing?
Where?
There, with her.
Who?
Her.
Michael, good morning to you. The Border Patrol just telling our team just a few minutes ago that within the last couple hours, they got 10 people trying to run across the border right here behind me. One Border Patrol agent telling me that it is total mayhem when the sun goes down out here. And the people I'm talking to on the ground say they expect to see even more migrants trying to cross in the coming weeks, trying to beat this summer heat. They want to come during the spring. Look, the Biden administration is not calling this a crisis. It is certainly a political crisis right now. You've had Republicans on the ground on the border yesterday trying to shine light on this. The Democrats that I'm talking to privately are growing increasingly frustrated. You got the Biden administration bringing in FEMA to try to help with this emergency situation. You mentioned that Dallas facility they're opening there. That's going to house 3,000 teenage boys. They've got another one. Look at these images here we have coming in from Midland, Texas. That's you can see these young boys being processed there as well. George, the administration, says the message is do not come now. I got to tell you, from what we are seeing on the ground out here on the border, that message is not getting through.
Now, we talked to some of the migrants, one of whom is named Nelson. He's from Honduras, and I asked him about the White House sending a message about not coming. Here was the exchange. Watch.
Yes, I listened to the news that they were letting people in.
He hasn't heard the U.S. president's message that now is not the time to come.
No.
Do we know why there's such a meaningful increase in crossings by unaccompanied minors?
So there's been long-standing drivers of migration: poverty, persecution, gang violence. Now you add on top of that what's happened this past year. We had 2 hurricanes in the fall that cut off food supply and battered the economy. And you add that to the pandemic. That's another factor that has really exacerbated some of the issues that we've discussed. And then finally, I was actually just at the border, and some of the families I spoke to who had recently arrived did say that another reason is the transition to a new administration. They perceived President Biden, who campaigned on a more compassionate approach to the border than his predecessor, as potentially being more lenient at the border.
We're here in Roma, Texas. This is in Starr County, which lies for the folks between McAllen, Texas, and Laredo. Now, behind me is Miguel Alemán. This is an embattled area between 2 cartels and really one of the most violent along the southwest border. And just to kind of put things in perspective with the amount of immigration being seen, in Rio Grande Valley sector in the last 7 days where we are, CBP has apprehended over 12,000 people. And last night, starting around 8 p.m., we began to see some of that, actually beginning right over here behind me. This is an island known as Salinas Crossing, where Cartel de Golfo specifically uses certain independent groups to smuggle people into the U.S., and we documented over 200 people last night.
Elder here for Birch Gold. As one of the top dealers of physical precious metals in the United States, Birch Gold Group helps Americans diversify their savings with gold and silver. Customers can purchase for physical possession or convert a portion of their IRA or 401k into an IRA backed by physical precious metals. And for the first time since Obama's first term, we are facing a democratically controlled White House, Senate, and House. Sounds like a lot of tax and spending to me. Get ready for more so-called quantitative easing. Now, how does that affect your investment? How does that affect the strength of your portfolio? So, Contact Birch Gold Group to request a free info kit on physical precious metals. See if diversifying into gold makes sense for you. This comprehensive 20-page kit reveals how gold and silver can protect your savings and how you can legally move your IRA or 401k out of risky stocks and bonds into a precious metals IRA. To get your no-cost, no-obligation kit, text Larry to 474747. That's text Larry to 474747. I mean, the migrants are telling the reporters, they're admitting that President Joe Biden has given us permiso.
Well, they're trying to deter that right now, but the tough spot the Biden administration finds itself in is because President Biden has been very vocal that he's going to be more humane. He changed this policy so that unaccompanied minors, they're the only ones who can come to the border without legal status and be let into the United States. And then you have this real narrative that I've heard from immigrants myself that I've interviewed, who say they see President Biden as more lenient. I had an immigrant mother tell me, I see President Biden more as a father than as a president.
Well, first of all, within the 1 week of the inauguration, I was calling the White House already, my contacts, and saying, hey, I want you to please see what's happening on the ground. This was back in January. I was telling the White House folks, you got to understand what's seen here. I'm seeing the numbers because I live in the border. I don't just go visit the border. I live there. I go there right after my votes in D.C. Mm-hmm. And so I've been warning the administration, there's a couple of things we need to do. First, we got to understand that there's 3 messages. The administration's message has to be better. You can't say, don't come now, come later. That's a bad message. It's got to be clear and concise. Don't come in here illegally. That should be the message. Message number 2 is what I call the networks of friends and family. Hey, Pedro, I was able to come over. You ought to come over. And they see images like what you're playing right now, people coming across. So, of course, they're going to come in. Third message, real quickly, the criminal organizations. That is a powerful message because they charge an average of $6,000. Imagine we had 100,000 people that crossed in February. Do the math, that's $600 million that they make.
You know, you don't even have to be making a partisan statement or a political statement to say that this is common sense consequences of a new administration. When you've said we're going to end deportations, when you've said we're going to end the migrant protection protocols, which is the remain in Mexico policy while you're seeking asylum, when you're not willing to put the kind of pressure on the government of Mexico that the Trump administration has, when you're willing to give a pathway to citizenship, when you've talked about health care for illegals, all of that adds up to the door is now open.
We have spoken with several migrants over the last several days, Andrea, both on this side of the border and over in Mexico, in Matamoros, Mexico, that said that they were encouraged by the change in administration. Many of them didn't know the specifics of President Biden's border policies, but what they did know is that he was not President Trump. And some of them did feel that now would be the time to come to the border. But certainly, Andrea, that is a question facing the Biden administration.
What do you want for your people?
I'll be honest, I'm here today because in my country, with the hurricane that we had, it's kind of terrible. And we got a president that he's not helping the population. And we're in a bad situation. I'm coming from way, way far away from Roatan. And
Where is your family?
My family, I left them home. I know they kind of worried because I don't have no internet so that they can check me and see how I'm doing. And I'm here today because I'm dreaming to get to the U.S.
What is happening now with the pandemic?
Well, the pandemic, it's messed us up a lot. I used to work tour guide, tourism, and on the island, we're not receiving no tourism. Because
you are from Roatan?
I'm from Roatan. Born and raised, islander, and that's where I will live.
What do you want for your people?
What I want for my people, I just want patience and pace that we can get to the U.S. because they're having a new president, where's Biden. He's going to help all of us. He's given us 100 days to get to the U.S. and give us legal mental paper so we can get a better life for our kids and family.
Now, when you've lost George Clintonopoulos, I mean Stephanopoulos.
You've been saying don't come now, but that message does not appear to be getting through right now. So many seem to be responding to the president's promise that he would have a more accepting policy towards migrants. And you seem to be stuck in a difficult trap right now. But does the message have to be don't come, period? Do you have to say quite clearly don't come.
Yes, I can say quite clearly, don't come. And what we're in the process of getting set up, don't leave your town or city or community.
And remember, during the debates, Joe Biden says he wanted a surge on the border. Do they have TV sets in Central America?
What I would do as president is several more things, because things have changed. I would, in fact, make sure that we immediately surge to the border. All those people are seeking asylum. They deserve to be heard. That's who we are. We're a nation that says if you want to flee and you're fleeing oppression, you should come.
But Biden just insists he never said he told anybody to come to the border.
The idea that Joe Biden said come, because I heard the other day that they're coming because they know I'm a nice guy and I won't do what Trump did.
They're saying this.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. They're not.
Would you have tried to do this when Donald Trump was president?
Definitely not. Definitely. We had the chance, the same violence that's going on today was there last year. We used to watch the news, and I definitely won't do this.
So did you come here because Joe Biden was elected president?
Basically. The main thing was the violence in my country. And the second thing, I think, was Joe Biden. It's like lighting up my hope, you know what I mean?
Now, the aforementioned Homeland Security Secretary says, come, just don't come now.
We are not saying don't come. We are saying don't come now because we will be able to deliver a safe and orderly process to them as quickly as possible.
Again, it is not, I repeat, not a crisis.
At this point, is this a crisis at the border?
Look, I don't think we need to sit here and put new labels on what we have already conveyed is challenging.
And on immigration, does FEMA's arrival at the border mean that the administration feels what is happening down at the border is a disaster?
I know that we always get into the fun of labels around here, but I would say our focus is on solutions.
We've heard you say that it's a problem, that it's a challenge. Is it now a disaster?
I appreciate the opportunity. I do like your mask. But I will say that FEMA is there to help ensure that the people who are at the border, who are coming across the border, have access to HHS and ORR shelters, that we can swiftly place them with vetted families. They're playing a number of roles there to address what we feel is a significant problem and a significant challenge. And I think we haven't been hiding about that. That they would be partners in dealing with the crisis on the border.
You said crisis on the border. Was that a
challenges on the border?
Okay.
Now again, Joe Biden denies he's ever said anything, done anything, implied anything that would encourage people to surge on the border. Even Jake Tapper not buying it.
Migrant children without parents or guardians are overwhelming facilities at the U.S.-Mexico border as a new administration struggles to explain how it is going to better handle this influx humanely while also discouraging future migrants. Today, we saw this rare look inside these facilities since the Biden administration has not granted news media access to the facilities, citing COVID restrictions, despite the president's promise in his inaugural address to always level with you. Blocking access to the news media is not leveling with the American people, Mr. President.
Really?
This is a human heartbreak. This is a national security problem. This goes to the heart of what we understand, and only one person has changed to make this happen. President Trump had a secure border.
Now, to call this a crisis presents a problem, doesn't it? Because Donald Trump was called a racist for everything he did to stop the flow of migrants. And now that the migrants are back, if Biden continues the Trump policies, that makes Biden a racist, doesn't it? I mean, even CNN is beginning to call a spade a spade. Oh, can't say that. A duck, a duck. Oh, don't tell PETA. Even CNN is beginning to admit that it is a crisis.
Immigration officials have encountered or arrested about 100,000 people in the 4 weeks leading up to March 3rd. And that is the highest number in that same time period than we have seen in at least the last 5 years. So there are significant changes going on, and we're witnessing along the U.S. southern border, and that is putting the Biden administration under a great deal of scrutiny and intense fire, not only just from Republicans here in Texas, but also from some Democrats who say that this is actually starting to reach a crisis level.
Dealing with the crisis on the border.
You said crisis on the border. Was that a
challenges on the border?
Now, as of this recording, Joe Biden has yet to visit the border. And Jen Psaki has explained why. Joe Biden has not visited the border because...
The president said yesterday he does not have plans to visit the border. Why not?
Because his focus is on action and taking actions and moving forward policies to ensure we are expediting the processing at the border, that we are opening more facilities, that we are putting in place policies that will move kids more quickly through the Border Patrol facilities, more quickly into safe and secure homes. And that's where his focus is. His focus is on action.
In other words...
I'm just about that action, boss.
Just don't call it a crisis.
Dealing with the crisis on the border.
You said crisis on the border. Was that a
challenges on the border?
Now, don't forget, we've been demonetized by YouTube. So please, to get me on demand and unfiltered, just go to LarryTube.com. That's LarryTube.com, because we got a country to save. Again, see you next time.